Let's bring in CNBC contributor and big technology founder Alex Kantrowitz. What do you make of those Tim Cook comments? Sounds like very happy in China, very happy with the demand so far.
That's right. Well, the first thing I would say is it's great news for Apple that there's a story about the company that is not involving Apple Intelligence or AI. We are going back now to the roots of Apple, which is that they are an excellent phone maker, and the improvements that they showed for this model are coming out. People want these models because they're more durable, because they have better battery life, and they are going back to their bread and butter. And we're hearing about the product itself, and people are responding. So I think the narrative that's been around Apple not being able to do artificial intelligence over the last few years, that's still a problem, but they've shifted their story. People are responding. They're going out, lining up to buy the phones, both in New York but also in China, which is really important.
So you think the iPhone Air is a lot of hot air?
I do.
Why?
Well, the question is, who's the phone for? Like, if you want to have the latest phone in your hand, the most cutting edge, you're not running out and getting the Air. You're going to want the Pro. The Pro has better battery life, better cameras. It might be more durable. The iPhone Air looks pretty durable. So what are you exactly signaling? Because a lot of the phone purchases, what I'm signaling to others, what exactly are you signaling if you have the Air? The Air seems like a traditional in-between product. It's about as thin as the iPhone 6. People didn't run to the stores to buy the iPhone 6 because of its thinness. So to me, it's an in-between product. And I think that what's being underrated right now is the fact that the Pro is going to sell very well. Steve, in his reporting earlier today, talked about how the people he's speaking with online are there for the Pro and not the Air. So it's going to be one of those really weird moments for Apple, but a positive one, where they introduce a new model, but the actual momentum is going to be around a current model.
Now, can we go back to this concept of AI? And, you know, you say people are going back to kind of what Apple is good at, which is the hardware element of it. So do we just give up on Apple and AI, and is that just not what's going to bring people to stand in line to buy the new iPhone? Or do you think that the technology itself has to just catch up, and in the meantime, people are going to upgrade and, you know, enjoy the features and durability and battery life of the 17?
I think what's coming with AI is undoubtedly on the way. The question is timeline. And I think when Apple introduced Apple Intelligence at WWDC a couple years ago, there was this belief that it was imminent. And they were going to go ahead and build for AI, and Google was going to do it, and Amazon was going to with Alexa Plus, and it was going to work right off the bat. And if it did, then it would shake up the dynamics. It would change the type of model that you would buy. But we're sitting here in almost late 2025, and we know that the product is just not there on the consumer side for anybody, which means the dynamics are still in place the way they were before this artificial intelligence moment happened. Yes, the ChatGPT app is on the phone. 700 million people use that every week. But you could get that on the iPhone, you can get that on the Android. And so right now, baking that technology into the operating system isn't a game changer. That being said, it is a real long-term story. It's a long-term liability for Apple, which has not made any progress at all, seemingly, on this front. But at least for the time being, it can rest easy and say, okay, we're going to do the phone. We're going to do it as better than anybody else. We have the iPhone Air this year, but we're going to bring out maybe the Fold in 2 years or next year, and then this curved glass model in 2 years. So a full lineup of new phones that are going to sell well.
Can it rest easy, though, without a real AI product that consumers flock to? And I ask that because it's been an industry leader ever since, 2007, when the iPhone came out. And now you have this week Meta AI glasses introduced this week, potentially with this idea that people will maybe be spending less time looking at the phone and just looking directly into the glasses. So how do you assess the competitive posture if Apple is, effectively not sleeping on AI, but just not as competitive as maybe some would like them to be on AI?
Well, with AI progress, it's something like with self-driving cars, that you can see the vision, right? With Waymo, for instance, everybody saw the vision for a long time. Then it took 10 years to really get it into production. Once it started working, and this year it's really happening, they were able to scale really quickly. And now you're seeing, I think it's a real competitive threat for Uber and even for car ownership. No, for real.
Yeah.
AI, that could happen in the same way, where we now see the vision. Apple came out, they told us about Apple Intelligence. Google, of course, is changing everything to bake AI in. But it is going to be one of those things that, again, doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take some time. And the Meta glasses is the perfect example. I watched the Meta presentation this week. First of all, a number of demos didn't work. We can forgive them for that. But even in the demos that did work, we saw just how big of a gap there is from the current set of products to these AI-first products. There actually is. nobody's going to be ditching their phone today to wear Meta's AI glasses. Could that happen in 5 years, in 10 years, or could those glasses lessen our reliance on the phone? I think there's a good chance. But this is not a product change that's imminent. AI has the possibility to change the form factor, change the way we interact with our devices. That's why I think investors panicked when they saw Apple didn't really have anything to show on that front. I understand that completely. I've been one of the people that have criticized them for what they've done, and it's not really hard to do that. But ultimately, this technology is not going to shift everything about the way we live in the next 6 months or year, despite the hype we might hear from some of the people trying to sell it to us.
Yeah, take some time, some conditioning of the American consumer before we see a big shift. Alex, really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for being here.